will follow.
Hello and welcome to Trinity Talk Live, water cooler conversation from a Christian perspective. I am Ken Coughlin, and allow me please to introduce our panel for the day. We have two familiar faces coming back to us again. Seated to my right is Megan Connors. Megan is a wife and mother of three children, ages 11, 5, and almost 3 years old. Will be 3 in January. She was born, baptized, confirmed, and raised here at Trinity and is raising her children here at Trinity as well. She has degrees in early childhood education and criminology, which we bonded over a little bit last time you were on the show, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Because I was a criminal justice major, very, very similar. She's a preschool teacher during the week and a Sunday school volunteer once a month. Thank you very much for coming back again, Megan.
Thank you for having me.
And seated to my left is Jessica McAllister, making her. Now, this is something unique about Jess. Jess is now, right now, today, marks her first appearance. She will be on 3 out of the last. I know it's her second overall, Mary Kay, behind the camera, holding up 2. That's not what I was talking about, thank you very much. It's her first of 3 out of 4. In other words, Jess is actually going to be on the show 3 out of the next 4 weeks.
So I apologize in advance.
But we can't tell people, we're not ready to disclose to people out there what the other 2 shows are going to be about. She's not going to be on next week, so you have to tune in next week to find out what's so special about her next 2 appearances that will be coming up the next 2 weeks after that. Although Megan knows already because we were playing it here before and she walked in and heard it. So people are going to start like bombarding you in church. Hey, Megan, you can tell. No, you can't. You're sworn to secrecy. You can't tell anybody. Jess is from Westchester, Pennsylvania. She earned her undergraduate degree in music education from James Madison University, which might be a clue to what those 2 shows are going to be about. Then she went on to receive her master's degree in music therapy from Colorado State University. In 2009, she began her private practice, Cornerstone Music Therapy Services, where she contracted with various organizations and individuals to provide music therapy services to a variety of populations. She currently works as a music therapist at Broadmead Retirement Community in Cockeysville, where she works primarily with older adults suffering with different stages of dementia. She is also the current music teacher for the lower school at Trinity Lutheran School. She and Ryan have 2 children, John, who is also almost 3 years old, and Amelia, who you'll remember from the last time she was on the show, joined us, and she is almost 8 months already. That's amazing.
Time flies.
Thank you for coming back, Jess.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so we are going to launch right into our current events segment, shall we?
Okay.
All right, our first story of the day, Netflix will be releasing a new series in 2019 called Messiah, which tells the story of a modern-day Jesus. According to RelevantMagazine.com, Roma, Downey, and Mark Burnett, the producers of the popular miniseries The Bible, will be at the helm of this new series as well. The series supposedly will look at the world's reaction when a man appears in the Middle East and generates a large number of followers who claim he is the Messiah. It tells its story from the point of view of multiple different characters and looks at questions such as what would society do and how would the media cover him, etc. Our second story is a sad and unfortunate story. Many of you probably remember Della, Reese, the actress and gospel-influenced singer, best known for her role as a wise angel in the long-running television show Touched by an Angel. She passed away peacefully in her home on the evening of November 19th. No cause of death has been released. Reese's longtime friend and co-star, Roma Downey, same from the first story we were talking about tonight, wrote a tribute to Reese on her Instagram. And she said, "Heaven has a brand new angel, Della, today. On behalf of her husband, Franklin Lett, and all her family and friends, I share with you the news that our beloved Della Reese has passed away peacefully at her California home surrounded by love. She was an incredible wife, mother, grandmother, friend, and pastor, as well as an award-winning actress and singer. Through her life and work, she touched and inspired the lives of millions of people. She was a mother to me, and I had the privilege of working with her side by side for so many years on Touched by an Angel. I know heaven has a brand new angel this day. Della Reese will be forever in our hearts. Rest in peace, sweet angel. We love you." And our third and final story for today, November 20th was the United Nations Universal Children's Day. The UN established this day in 1954 to promote international awareness about the various problems faced by children around the world. Since the Day of Awareness was created, a great deal of progress has been made. The percentage of people living in extreme poverty has been cut in half since 1980. The percentage of children starving to death or dying of disease has reached an all-time low, and more kids are attending school than ever before. However, millions of children still do not have access to education, they work long hours, and they go to bed hungry. The UN passed the 1989 Convention of Rights of the Child that states children have the right to life, to health, to education, and to play, as well as the right to family life, to be protected from violence, to not be discriminated, and to have their views heard. Universal Children's Day is intended to remind us of all the children who do not enjoy these fundamental rights. Many countries held events on November 20th to publicize these problems and to seek remedies. So those are our 3 stories for the day. I'm going to start over here with Jess and ask you if anything in any of those stories spoke out to you.
Well, the first story, the Netflix story, I'm excited about that series that's coming. I mean, we love some of the things that are happening or coming to Netflix, so it's fun to think about a new series. We love getting into things. But anyway, the thing that really popped out to me is in terms of how the media would cover things if it were to happen now, of just social media and how that would all happen. I mean, Ryan said to me just last night, it's amazing how kids today can look at pictures or video of the things they did that day, and that's completely normal to them. They don't even have an understanding of, I need to wait to get the pictures developed, or just wait a moment, in order to see what they did. And it just got me thinking. My mind just went going of, how would the information be transferred, and how would people, in a good way, of the word would spread pretty quickly. But then, how we've often seen social media be something that's very misunderstood.
That's exactly what I thought of.
Yeah. So it's like it could be,
it go either way. Yeah. It makes me think of how hateful some people can be and what they would say about that, too. Yeah. So that's what I thought about as soon as I read that article. I was like, wow, you could take it, some people would praise it, other people would try to trash it and be like, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So it's crazy just how this world is and how they put their spin on things.
Yeah, and Jesus was around before social media, and yet look at some of the reactions that he got, because a lot of what his message was challenging those in authority, challenging the conventional wisdom of things, and he got crucified for it. I mean, we use that as a figurative term now. You can describe a lot of what people do on social media as, they're crucifying X and so and so. Well, Jesus really did get crucified for it, and so you're right. I think that I think you would see some of that, just not because people necessarily can prove anything he's saying is being incorrect, but because he would challenge a lot of our conceptions, and I think he might challenge some of the conceptions of people in the church as well. So. All right, so hey, why don't we move on to our topic of the week, shall we?
Okay.
Our topic of the week this week is preparing your heart, not just the house and turkey. Or since we're technically past Thanksgiving, you want to say not just the house and ham, or whatever. What do you guys have?
Your meat of preference. I would say. I think Christmas is typically a ham for us.
Preparing your heart, not just the house and bacon. She said the meat of preference. For me, that would be
just put it
what do you have for Christmas?
We rotate, either turkey or ham.
Okay, so
whatever my mom feels like making at the time. Yeah.
We'll have a slash title, not the house and turkey / ham. The hammerky. No, wait. Okay. So, all right, we're joking about it, but ideally, look, the purpose of this episode is basically to help people out, because ideally this time of year, obviously, we'd all be perfectly focused on the birth of Jesus, and that's what we're supposed to be celebrating. That's what we're supposed to be honoring. But we all know that things get in the way. And that's just one example of something, obviously, with the preparing if you've got a lot of people coming over, or even if you don't, if you're preparing to go away. I know I've got 2 kids, so even if we're going out of town for the holidays, especially, I was joking with my parents. We went down to see my parents this Thanksgiving, and we actually got there real early because we wanted to try to help out. My mom's not, she's had some health issues lately, and so we didn't want her to try to be slaving over everything. So we were out the door, and I think we were on the road by before 8:30 in the morning. And so my 2 brothers, who both are much closer, they didn't get there till way later in the day. I was like, we're the ones that are furthest away. We got there soonest. But I kind of was joking with my parents when we got there. They're like, how would you get here so early? So, because we're not spending the night. As you can understand, if we were spending the night, it was just a day trip. So if we're spending the night, with my 2 kids, it takes, it's like a week-long endeavor just to get everything packed up and get them out the door.
Exactly.
And so things like that, even if you're not the one hosting, if you're going somewhere, a lot of that can get in the way. Maybe you've got other obligations, other things going on. My wife and I are involved in a play that we do every Christmas. It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play on December 8th and 9th at the Havre de Grace Opera House. Sorry, I paused.
Brief commercial break.
Brief commercial, which I think I did that a couple of weeks ago too. But for other people, it may not, their inability to focus may not be necessarily because of business, but maybe, we just had Pastor Chuck here a few weeks ago, did a bereavement seminar for people that are facing the holidays for the first time without a loved one.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that can help, that can get in the way of our focus of being where it is. So I think I just want to start out today just asking a question. I'm gonna start with you, Megan. What types of things do you notice within your personal life or other things that you've seen that can somehow get in the way of keeping the focus where it should be on this holiday?
Stress. Definitely stress. Trying to fit everything in, like trying to give my children the experiences that we have, but I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to leave anything out. I want them to be able to have the most fun-filled December and even halfway through November to get those Christmas experiences in, and then we start losing sight of, what the real meaning is, and just instead of sitting back and enjoying it together, it's rush, rush, rush. And then, it's stressful trying to fit everything in.
You should watch the episode we had a few weeks ago about organizing. So, Jess, what about you? What kind of things do you see that get in the way of people keeping focus this time of year?
I think the amount of options that are available to celebrate the season, which in and of itself is a beautiful thing. Right. I mean, all the ways that it can become magical and wonderful in that sense, but that it becomes too much for any one person to experience. So, I struggle with this so much. I was thinking the other day about, in Luke when the Mary and Martha and talking about that story. And I read through it again, and I'm thinking to myself, I am such a Martha. I am such a Martha. To a T, I want to make everything right, and I want to organize everything, and I want it to all fit together well, and I want everything to be set up perfectly. So I think for me, it's the preparation, the logistics. I want it all to work the way that I envision it in my mind. And, in the story, Jesus is very clear. He says to Martha, because Martha gets so frustrated, Jesus, isn't that, why isn't my sister helping me? And he says to her, she's chosen what is better. And that hit me too, of where he says that she's chosen something better, not she's chosen the right way and you've chosen the wrong way, but that she's chosen something better. Those preparations in and of themselves aren't a bad thing, but that what she's chosen to be at Jesus' feet and just listen and be there and be in the moment is what's best for us. So for me, it's the challenge of, how do I not let the preparations get in the way of being in the moment? That's the biggest struggle that I can put my finger on. I want all the place settings to be perfect. I want all of the, I want the picture of my children sitting on Santa's lap. I want these things to be able to, which in and of themselves are beautiful things. But if I miss sitting at Jesus' feet, then I've missed it all.
Yeah, there's nothing per se wrong with the preparation, but when it gets in the way of sitting at Jesus' feet, like you say, that's when it can become. And I think that's true of anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be preparation, but anything gets in the way of that. Right. So we know that we all struggle from those types of situations, and that was the easy question. Now I'm going to ask you the hard question, and I'm just going to be quiet and let you answer it, since you guys are the experts on this, right?
No. Not at all.
So the hard question is, it's one thing to identify the problem, it's another thing to address it and to do something about it. So how do we keep our focus on Jesus, on celebrating Christ's birth, and not let those things, not let the preparations get in the way?
Right.
To be not to be the Martha, but to be the Mary.
Yeah, I think it's making it about Jesus. I think that's what has been echoing in my mind over and over again, especially in the last couple of weeks where the commercials have ramped up and everything. I feel like I have this flood of anxiety at the beginning of the season where I'm like, all these things need to get done, and I feel like God has really been just providing a lot of grace and continuing to say to me, make it about me, make it about me, make it about me, and Jesus is what I mean. And having young children and kind of going through this experience in a new way of being a mom rather than being the child, where now I'm watching my almost 3-year-old who is just starting to get it now of what it means to have presents and what it means to wait for Santa and what it what it means to be talking about Jesus coming as a baby, and so I'm experiencing it in a whole new way, and it's almost as if I'm looking at it as, okay, I need to stop looking at Christmas in the way that I want it to be, but looking at it through the eyes of a child like my son is. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing. And the other day, my son John he's starting to sing a lot of songs recently, and one of them randomly is Happy Birthday. He just, spontaneously start singing Happy Birthday to no one in particular, but here he is, Happy Birthday. And so the thought came into my head. I said to my husband Ryan, I said, we should sing Happy Birthday to Jesus. And we should, John is excited about Happy Birthday. Let's make Christmas something that we do. Wouldn't that be fun to have a tradition of singing Happy Birthday to Jesus and meeting my son where he is, of this is his birthday, and let's celebrate that together. So that's one thing we thought about.
Well, I know along those lines, Chick-fil-A always offers their Christmas party, and it's a Happy Birthday Jesus party. So that's where we get to sing Happy Birthday and enjoy Christmas music, all with people we don't even know, but it's all fellowship, and it's nice to bring the community together that way.
When do they do that?
It's one. I'll have to look at the calendar. It's usually like 2 or 3 weeks. It's one of their family nights before Christmas.
Is it like on a weeknight or?
It's usually on a Tuesday night. I think that's when they normally do their family nights. But they have a huge cake. They have the cow dress up like Santa.
The cow dress up like Jesus.
But it's nice because then they have a little manger scene set up, so it's nice, and they bring it. They bring it to the community. So it's not like they're taking that step out of that box and inviting the community in to celebrate Jesus' birth.
And see, that's what I was thinking, is that, and there's different ways you can do this, but something that people out there might try is if you take something that you might normally do and you inject the spirit of the holidays into it, like what you're saying. It's like if you have like a normal family dinner night, like a lot of people have one night a week where they want at least, especially when kids get older and their schedules get hectic, where you all, no, this night we're going to meet around the table. Well, maybe that night, instead of just meeting around the table, we're going to go do that Chick-fil-A party that might help again bring the spirit of the holidays into it.
But I think you speak a lot of truth. I mean, I think that planning ahead is an important part of it. I mean, I do think that if you're not careful about that, which for me I'm growing in this for sure, but if you don't plan ahead, then the season just flies by and you turn around and you say, what did we spend our time doing? Being able to make the best choices you can in the midst of a lot of options, and even though it's hard to say out loud, I'm going to say no, but it's not necessarily that you're saying no. You're making choices based upon what you feel is the best way to spend your time.
Something else that I was thinking of. And I know when I was growing up, my mom was a very, very good piano player. She, of course, but it also meant that everybody wanted to hit her up to play the piano, and that's why her to do the other thing. But she was a very good piano player. And, one of the memories I have growing up as a kid is just, gathering around the piano and singing Christmas carols. And I bet you if you ask my parents now, they wouldn't even necessarily remember that. It wasn't, because it wasn't necessarily something that was, every Monday night we have to sing. No.
It wasn't official.
And it was just something that we just did. And you don't have to be sitting, even if you can't play the piano, it doesn't matter. You can be a horrible singer. I'm not all that great of a singer. I can carry a tune all right, but you're never going to hear me sing next to her because, oh my gosh, I would sound so horrible. I've never heard you sing. You want to do a few bars for us?
I'm good. Although back in the day, I did sing my share of "Oh Holy Night" on Christmas Eve. So
Did you
Nice.
really?
I did.
That is actually my favorite, my absolute favorite, my absolute favorite. But yeah, this is just something else they can do to, that's not going to take a whole lot of time. Maybe sometime gather your family, friends, whatever, together. Maybe go out caroling if you're for one of the activities, something like that. That can help you, just help bring the spirit of the holiday and bring the focus into it.
I know. When I was a little girl, my grandfather's favorite song was Silent Night. Mm-hmm. And he would turn all the lights off in the living room. I would hop up on his lap. He would light the tree, and he would sing Silent Night to me. So he's been gone for a while, but that's what I remember every Christmas is that special memory between him and I.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a beautiful memory that helps you remember him. And yet at the same time, it also, like I was saying, it doubled for helping keep your focus on what it's supposed to be for the holiday. Not that you can't throw in a Jingle Bells here and there if you want to, but maybe not just that. Make other choices that are going to help you, keep the focus where it should be. What other suggestions we got? Well, I'm going to make Megan talk again because the camera's on you. That's the way it works. Because otherwise, we're going to get yelled at by her later. What other types? Do you have any other suggestions for people about what they can do to help overcome that distraction?
I know what we're trying to perfect every year, and it's trying to gear towards our kids to celebrate Advent and to really give them the meaning of the story of Jesus. But I know over the past couple years we've been having a hard time finding scriptures that gear towards the smaller kids so they can understand. But I've been able to find a couple of resources online now and, do a scripture every night, do a story, do a craft. That's what we try to do. And we try to make it meaningful every day for them and make it Jesus involved. That way, before we had a tree hanging up on the wall where we would make a little ornament that would represent the scripture we were reading and learning about that night. And we would put it on there so then we could reflect on it throughout the Advent season.
That's really cool.
And it was nice.
Yeah.
What did you find? What kind of resources did you find? We used to use the New International Reader's Version, but this was...
I actually found a couple things on Pinterest. Mm-hmm. Some of them are good, some of them are, but it's taken a couple years to play around with it to see what works for my family and what they can understand, the kids, that is. Because if it's going right over their head, it's kind of what's the point, but... they're missing the point then.
Right.
So we're trying to include them and get them, full-fledged inside of that too, so they can understand and really get the most out of the season as well.
I think it's super important to meet the kids where they're at. It's just, you're talking about that, and it feels even more of just, if it's not offered, if the Christmas story isn't offered to a child in the way that they can really understand and appreciate and where they are, then it really is going to go over their heads and it's not going to feel significant.
Right.
And so I feel like that is one of the biggest things that as a family can be done together, and figuring out different ways to meet them where they're at. One thing, if you have a big family, one thing that my husband's family does every year is they do a live nativity where, not like the camels walking in and everything, but he and his cousins growing up, they would all take on roles of who was visiting Jesus
so Ryan
in
took
the
on
manger.
He took on the role of the camel.
So yes, so Ryan was the human camel. But and it was easy. I saw pictures. Obviously, I wasn't involved by then. He was 6 years old or whatever. But they had bed sheets as over their heads if they were shepherds, and they had and it was very simplistic in nature, but it was something that met them where they were at. And whatever cousin was the baby that year was baby Jesus every time, So it was something where to them it was this huge event, I'm sure it felt like, that felt grand and super special and super exciting. And it was bed sheets and pillowcases and this and that, and they would walk down and they would tell the story of Jesus and read the scriptures they're walking in to see him. And so it's something that Ryan remembers clearly, and it's something that was something that he could grasp onto as a 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old.
That is so much better than the tradition that we had in my family for the babies. At least yours, they'd be baby Jesus. With mine, we were like a cooked pig. My grandparents, this has nothing to do with the holidays, mind you. Don't ask me why I made me think of this. But my grandparents had this giant pig tray. It was a big silver pig tray with, the big cover on it that you would lift off and everything like that. And the tradition in our family was whenever there was a new baby born to any of my father's families, whether it's, my two brothers or any of our cousins, you'd put the baby on the pig tray, and then you would get a picture like they were serving the baby up on the pig tray. I thought it was so cute.
Baby.
Yeah, I thought it was so cute growing up. I look back on it now, it was kind of sick.
And cute. I'm sure it was cute.
It's like funny, but wrong, okay? And my parents are watching this. That was a bit oogie. All right, but I still love those pictures. I love them all. So I do want to spend the last couple minutes here that we've got just we've talked a lot about family and children and things like that, and I just want to mention a couple things, and feel free to chime in if it makes you think of something, because obviously there are people that are having trouble focusing on Jesus, and maybe their kids are all grown up, or maybe it's, like we said, for other reasons because of loss. And one thing I wanted to mention that obviously getting together with friends or other people, getting in a Christian group can help you. We had, our small group is doing a little Christmas party this month. It's just kind of a neat thing. It's not that we're not getting together with other people as well, but we kind of decided, okay, this is kind of our Christian study, fellowship, companionship group that we've got here. So, wouldn't it be nice to get together and just have some good fellowship time celebrating the birth of Jesus with these people who we know hold this time of year as dearly as we do? Mm-hmm. So something like that. If you're hopefully, trying to read the Bible every day, maybe you're doing a daily devotional or something. Well, there's plenty of devotionals out there that you can find that are Advent oriented. So maybe, take a step aside from whatever your regular Bible reading plan is, and then try to pick something that's Advent oriented. And I know your cousin Greg is doing great on his Bible reading, because I don't know how this is connected, but we both have the Bible app on our phone, and somehow or another he must have asked to be connected to me in some way, shape, or form, and I must have said yes a long time ago, because I keep getting notifications on my phone. Greg just finished another Bible reading plan.
Nice.
And I think that's like saying, Ken, you're falling behind. Get caught up.
Your turn.
So anyway, that's just a couple things that occurred to me that people can do, even if you don't have a family setting, that you can help doing individually on your own or with friends that can help you stay focused on the holidays.
Yeah.
Anything else that anybody wants to add that we haven't mentioned here today that you wanted to get out there that you think is really important to help people stay focused on the spirit of the season, so to speak?
It's a struggle. It's throughout the season, you've got voices and advertisements and, every sort of piece of information coming to you. It's a beautiful thing that this season is celebrated as heavily as it is in our country, but it's a struggle to make sure that it's about Jesus. And in life in general, where do you find truth? And it has to be in the Word. And so I would just say, and speaking to myself too, of being connected to the Word of God in this season is so, so important. Having it be with your family and making sure that you're finding your truth in the Word and nowhere else. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's where it needs to start, and that's where you can find that center and that focus in order to then stem out to all of your other decision-making and activities and ways you spend your time throughout the season. If it starts there, then you're starting in the right place.
Hey, hopefully we said something out there that'll help you keep the focus on where your heart should be and to prepare your heart for this upcoming season. If you did like this video, do me a favor. Go ahead, click the like button. That's a thumbs up button here on the YouTube page. Also, you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. That'll help you keep up to date on everything we've got to offer. Also make it very easy for you to find us in the future. Most importantly, if you could share our videos, share them on whatever your social media avenue of choice is, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it may be, preferably all of the above. Tell other people about these videos. That's going to help get this ministry out to more people, and that's really what we want to do here. We started this new ministry here at Trinity this year, and we want to reach as many people out there into the world as we can. We do have a Facebook page at Trinity Talk Live. It's at Trinity Talk Live Podcast. If you could go ahead and give us a like on there as well, that's a good way for you to find out about what we've got coming up for future episodes, and also to give us feedback on past episodes or ideas for topics that you'd like to see us cover. Next week, we'll be back again, Tuesday at noon, when our topic will be balancing charity with the craziness. We've had like 4 weeks of episodes here, all kind of dealing with the craziness of the season and trying to focus on different things you can to help you out during that. Next week is going to be, okay, we know we're supposed to be giving. We're supposed to be giving of ourselves and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do we do that, balance our charity with everything else that we got to worry about during this time of year? So please be sure to tune in next Tuesday at noon for that episode. Again, I would like to say a very special thank you to our guests for today, to Megan Connors, to Jessica McAllister. Thank you very much for coming on. It was great. I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you had some fun
Me
too.
too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you all for tuning in, and God bless.
In your word we will follow.